Child, let me take you back to a fall morning in Texas. The year was 1987. October 14th, Midland, Texas. The air was dry, the sun sharp, the kind of day where neighbors waved across fences and children played in backyards without a care in the world. But before the sun had set, the whole nation would be holding its breath for one tiny girl, a child who would capture every heart in America. Her name was Jessica McClure, just 18 months old. To her family, she was simply baby Jessica. And that morning, she was playing outside in her aunt's yard, where an old well casing sat half forgotten in the ground. It was narrow, just 8 inches across, too small for any grown hand to reach down, too dangerous for anyone to notice, until Jessica's small foot slipped. In a heartbeat, she was gone, down, 22 feet below the surface, stuck in that cold, narrow pipe of earth. The scream that rose in that backyard was not just from her mother's throat. It echoed across fences, across neighbors' porches. Within minutes, rescuers were called, and within hours, reporters would swarm. By nightfall, the eyes of America were fixed on one backyard in Midland. Now, I had seen many rescues in my life. Fires, floods, overturned boats in the Hudson. But the rescue of baby Jessica was something different. Because here, the victim was not a grown man who'd chosen a risky path, not a sailor who'd braved a storm, but a baby barely more than a year old, helpless, trapped, crying in the dark. The first rescuers lowered ropes, but the shaft was too narrow. No adult could slide down, no tool could simply pull her free. She was wedged tight, the well like a prison cell, made of earth itself. The plan began quickly. Drill a parallel shaft, wide enough for rescuers, then carve a horizontal tunnel to reach her. It sounded simple, but the ground of Midland is tough, stubborn, full of rock. Hours turned to long hours, machines grinding, sparks flying, dust choking the air. The sun set, and the floodlights came on. Families gathered at the fence, praying, holding one another, watching the scene unfold like some terrible dream. Inside that well, Jessica cried, whimpered, and then sometimes went silent, and those silences were the hardest. Every rescuer held their breath, waiting to hear her voice again. And when it came, faint, but there, it renewed our strength. The hours stretched into the night. The drills kept breaking against hard limestone. Blades dulled, bits snapped. Engineers, miners, paramedics, all worked side by side. Sweat poured, dirt flew. The air smelled of diesel and dust. And every so often, a rescuer would stop, place their ear to the pipe, and call out, "Jessica, hang on, baby girl. We're coming!" By the next morning, October 15th, the entire nation was watching live coverage. News anchors spoke of nothing else. Helicopters hovered above. Radio hosts asked listeners to pray. Strangers mailed letters and flowers to the McClure home. Jessica had become everyone's child. 58 hours pass. 58 hours of drilling, cutting, praying. The tunnelers used water knives and jackhammers, working carefully so the earth wouldn't collapse. Time was slipping away. A toddler's body could not last forever without water, without warmth. And yet, Jessica endured. Finally, in the early hours of October 16th, the horizontal shaft reached her. A man named Robert O'Donnell, a paramedic, wriggled his way through the narrow space. The tunnel was hot, cramped, terrifying, but he pressed forward, inch by inch, until he reached her. Imagine that moment, shining your flashlight into the dirt and seeing the pale, tear-streaked face of a baby who had been buried alive for more than 2 days. He spoke gently, reassuring her, maneuvered her tiny body free of the earth's grip, and with careful hands lifted her out. When Jessica emerged, bundled in blankets, the crowd erupted. Shouts, sobs, applause, the sound of relief, like thunder, rolling across that Texas yard. Her face was dirty, her little body scraped and bruised, but her eyes were open. She was alive. Doctors rushed her to the hospital. She was dehydrated, suffering from cuts, and one badly damaged foot. But she was breathing. She was safe. Against all odds, Jessica McClure had survived. I remember watching that scene unfold, tears running down my face. I had seen many rescues, but never had I seen so many people, miners, drillers, paramedics, neighbors, even strangers, come together with such determination for one child. The rescue of baby Jessica became a symbol, a reminder that in times of crisis, humanity can rise, that patience, skill, and love can defeat even the hardest stone. Jessica's story didn't end in that well. She grew up like any child should. Scars on her forehead and foot bore witness to those hours underground, but she lived a full life, and those who rescued her, many carried that memory forever. Some found it too heavy, the stress of those days haunting them long after. But ask any of them if it was worth it, and they would say yes, because they pulled a child from the earth itself and gave her back to her family. And me, I still hear the sound of that crowd cheering, still see the blanket-wrapped child lifted into the light. Sometimes people ask me why I keep telling these stories. Why remember the pain, the fear, the endless hours of struggle? And I say because hope is a fire that must be kept burning. Stories like Jessica's are fuel for that fire. 58 hours in darkness, 58 hours of prayers and work, and in the end, a miracle not of chance, but of human hands and human hearts. Yes, I was there, and I will never forget the rescue of baby Jessica.